Good morning. This is Father Stephen Kelly from St. John's Church in Detroit. And we're continuing our series of daily morning meditations where we generally look at one or another of the lessons that are assigned for morning or evening prayer, what is known as the daily office lectionary. And today is Tuesday. In fact, it is Rogation Tuesday. Remember, we are continuing the Rogation days. On Sunday, we celebrated the Rogation. And then yesterday, today, and tomorrow, the Holy Communion service has the same lessons assigned for Rogation Monday, Rogation Tuesday, and Rogation Wednesday. These are the days of special intention that happen right before the Feast of the Ascension, which is on Thursday. And we are praying with special intention for the planting of the crops and ultimately for a fruitful yield of those crops for us. We are dependent upon God and for his provision for us, right? We may plant, but it is God who will give the growth by sending a gracious rain and the sunshine and the like. And so we read at morning prayer yesterday the 8th chapter of Deuteronomy, which sets up the idea that if the people of Israel are faithful to God and faithful in keeping his commandments, he will continue to be faithful in blessing them. And we pick up on that theme again today in chapter 11. Remember, Deuteronomy is what is known as a part of the Old Testament known as the Pentateuch. Pentateuch for the word 5, meaning the first 5 books of the Bible, also known as the books of Moses. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Chapter 11, beginning at verse number 10. For the land, whither thou goest in to possess it, is not as the land of Egypt, from whence ye came out, where thou sowest thy seed and waterest it with thy foot, as a garden of herbs. But the land whither you go to possess it is a land full of hills and valleys, and drinketh water of the rain of heaven. A land which the Lord thy God careth for. The eyes of the Lord thy God are always upon it, from the beginning of the year even until the end of the year. And it shall come to pass, if ye shall hearken diligently unto my commandments, which I command you this day, to love the Lord your God, and to serve him with all your heart and with all your soul, that I will give you the rain of your land in this due season, the first rain and the latter rain, that thou mayest gather in thy corn, and thy wine, and thy oil. And I will send grass in thy fields for thy cattle, that thou mayest eat and be full. Take heed to yourselves, that your heart be not deceived, that ye turn aside and serve other gods and worship them. And then the Lord's wrath be kindled against you, and he shut up the heaven, and there be no rain, and that the land yield not her fruit, and lest ye perish quickly from off the good land which the Lord giveth you. So, of course, you can see in today's lesson very much a theme for rogation. Now, remember the words rogation come from a Latin phrase that we translate into Old English as, we beseech thee to hear us, O Lord. And so it is, we are asking God's blessing and provision for us. Now, of course, with modern agriculture, I don't think much about the crops, right? I don't plant a garden because the few times I've tried it, the weeds and the squirrels and the rabbits always win. I get nothing from it. And so for me, food and provision is what I pick up at the store. I go to Eastern Market, or I go to Kroger or to Aldi, and we get our groceries. And that's how it is physically gotten for us. But the Rogation days remind us that, in fact, we are dependent upon God to provide the growth, and for those who are working for that, those who sow the fields, those who prepare the fields, and of course for the rain to provide for the pastures, for the cows and the sheep to graze, so that we have food to eat. That is God's provision for us. And so we hear today in Deuteronomy, the fact is that we ask God for that provision, right? We plant and God gives the growth. And so the author of Deuteronomy, which we believe and the church has said is Moses, the author reminds the people of Israel that they are called to be faithful, and if they are faithful, God will continue to provide for them. And if you stand on the top of the mountain overlooking Jerusalem to one direction and the Dead Sea in the other direction, you can see the line where the rain stops being enough to support real substantial growth. And so it is that the people of Israel in that area are utterly dependent upon enough rain falling to provide for the crops and enough rain falling to provide for the fields to grow the grass to feed the cows and the sheep, etc. And so it is how vitally important it is for them to realize that the idea of living water is provided by God, and that they are called to be faithful people for a faithful God in seeking his provision humbly and in a state of grace. We don't often think about that today in our modern society with meteorology and all these things that we think, but in the end, we can't control the climate, right? We think we can, but the big picture is that ultimately the climate has been set in motion by God, and that it will be up to God how we are provided and whether or not we are. So what is our call? Our call is to continue to be a faithful people and to beseech him to bless us in that faithfulness. And when we fail, to repent and return to the Lord. I hope you have a blessed Tuesday, Rogation Tuesday.